My system's running slowly. Just give me a second here. This is all about that pencil. Well, that didn't work right. Let's try that again. Hello, 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 everyone. This is Cassandra Williamson, the Executive Director for Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America and our Action Group. Please pay attention to the disclaimer that's going across the bottom of your screen down there. The opinions expressed here are mine and mine alone. They do not necessarily represent those of any particular organization, agency, department, or whatever. These opinions are mine, period. Thank you. So welcome to the show. Let's jump right into some news headlines. Here we go. Share screen first. Jump over. Let's go to there and there. Okay. First thing. This headline, this story. Wait a minute. Where's the headline? Okay. Tuberville's one-man stand strains Senate patience. And yes, that's from 11 hours ago from Wall Street Journal. Molly Ball is the author of that story. Yeah, it strains a lot of people's patience. Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely does. And right now, a bunch of organizations, including ourselves, have been, there's not much we can do to get him to change his mind. He is stuck like a rock, okay? But we can put a lot of pressure on elsewhere. And I really want to recall his ass and have another election for him because he is jeopardizing national security, period. And these aren't times for games and brinkmanship. And that's what he's doing. He's just being dense. Dense. Okay, let's go on to the next topic. Okay, Russia warship flotilla in Asia sparks fears of global takeover. No, the headlines are just a little bit exaggerated right there. Whoever wrote the headline for that one, no, there's not a global takeover. The largest fleet in the world is ours. And, well, in China's too. They've got a pretty large darn fleet anyway too. But technologically, we're there. No, from Russia, not. Now, if they joined in conjunction with China, which that might be the case here, I don't know, but whatever. They're down there. We'll see what happens. Keep an eye on that one. This is really the proof of what I've been saying all along. Is that these people really just want to establish a theocratic, authoritarian government here in the United States. And they've got the plan to do it, folks. If you don't believe it, go look up project2025.org and read the darn document. And you'll learn in there just how badly they want to erase and delete a whole bunch of people they don't like. And they just want to remove every reference to them. And not just that, though. If you read on down in there, there's things that talk about these very things, wanting to turn it back into a Christian theocratic nation and turned it into that. It never was that. It never was that to start out with. But, they want to make it that way. I mean, they're trying to do things for the Sabbath, make it so that employers, if you have any work that's going on Sunday and you have people there, that if you work on Sunday, you got to pay them time and a half. And then they talk about all of this all throughout the whole of their document about government. It's conflating everything. And that separation that we think we have between church and state, these people don't believe in it. But right here in Ohio, the Ohio lawmakers, well, they don't like that the people in Ohio voted to protect the right to abortion for women in the state. So, Ohio lawmakers are proposing to curtail the judge's power over abortion. I mean, that's the height of stupidity and authoritarianism. But let me tell you, it's not just there that these kind of things are happening, folks. It's all across the country. If they don't like something, the way that people go and the people who are in those halls of leadership there, quote, leadership, if they don't like how the public feels about something, well, they just go ahead and just make it so that the public can't get what they want, okay? Oh my God, come on. People spoke in Ohio. They've spoken across this country, and it's time for our elected leaders to stand up for that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know it's a representative government, but my God, get some new representatives, folks. The ones in there are not paying attention to the people. All right. Vivek Ramaswamy, here we go. Let me slide that up so I can look at that. Oh, okay. All the way. Anyway, so vows to fire federal workers based on Social Security numbers. And he says nothing will break if he does that. So he has vowed to fire at least 50% of the entire administrative side of the executive branch of the U.S. government. And he wants to use Social Security numbers to do it. So you're thinking, how would that work? Well, he mentions in here that he actually says, look, if you just take all the people whose Social Security number ends in an odd number, they're fired. And then he says, nothing will break. Oh my God. This guy's about it. I mean, he's made a fortune in the field that he's been professional in. But my God, get him out of running for president. This guy is a lunatic, literally. Okay. We are sleepwalking toward authoritarianism, says scholar who studies democracy. Yeah. New Republic's Michael Tomasky and Professor Brian Klaus discussed former President Trump's recent remarks at a campaign stop where he pledged to root out vermin. His phrase came right straight out of Mein Kampf, folks. Hitler's playbook for the Nazis. And if you don't know it already, he kept a copy of Mein Kampf beside his bed for years because he loved what that man did. And we've got Americans who still support his dumb ass. God almighty, come on, people. Jeez. Got to be freaking credit. If I can ever start talking correctly. Anyway, so you've got to be fucking kidding me. Really? This guy kept a copy of Mein Kampf beside his bed, and you really think that he ought to be running anything? Not even a dog pound. Jeez, he doesn't deserve even that. But yet, Project 2025 is designed around everything that he believes, folks. Go right on past that one. House to vote whether to kill resolution to impeach the DHS secretary. Okay. All right. They've got Homeland Security Secretary Alexandra Mayorkas in their sights. And sometime this evening, they're supposed to be voting on that. Okay. I don't know exactly when. We can go check C-SPAN to find out if it's over there yet. But he's not the only one they went after. This is obviously from Green in Georgia. Yeah, that an image came to my head about all of us blondes. That's what I was thinking. The stereotypical blonde. Okay. Enough said. But that's what she wants to do. And I don't know what the vote's going to turn out to be like. I don't have a clue. Don't know. But I do know she's trying. She and Boebert are just about as ditzy as you can get. They really are. Going after everybody they don't like. Both of them going after LGBT people across the whole of the federal government. And you have got to be kidding me. They've lined up and tried to strip the pay of every single person they don't like down to $1. You can do that with the Ullman Act. Yeah, you can do that. And Congress has that authority to absolutely do that. I mean, they control the purse strings, right? But to vindictively and discriminatorily go after people you don't like, well, that reminds me of another bunch of people over in the Middle East right now, going after a whole nation of people they don't like. And the hatred for that is just about as deep as that is for anti-Semitism. Anyway, I digress. Okay, let me see what this one's all about. Go back to the top. Oh, Army corrects records of black Buffalo soldiers hanged by U.S. in 1917. Good. About time to correct that record. You can read that article yourself. It's over on Task and Purpose with Patty Nyberg as the author from 2 hours ago, or roughly 2 hours ago. Go check that out. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing there because that's Project 2025 in the background. That's the first section. And let me go back to the main page where I can see you. There we go. 4 comments. Who's over here right now? Hey, Red Orangutan. What is this channel about? Well, okay. If you read the bottom down there, hey, good day, good evening. So this channel is about veterans and diverse veterans, Americans, who happen to be in that LGBTQ plus group. There are lots of veterans out there who are just like me, and transgender people, LGBT people. There's a bunch of us who are veterans, a bunch. And yeah, that's what this show is about. And we're also fighting and defending all LGBTQ plus rights in this nation, because I mean, if you go after one group, then they go after the next group above that, and they go after the next group above that, eventually they'll get to you. There won't be anybody left to fight for you. So we've got to start fighting now, folks, especially with Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation. That is just an atrocious, freaking horrible thing. Really is. What is this channel about? Okay, Red, I think I answered your question there. Got it, got it, got it. All right, so now let me go on and share with you one other story. Then we'll pull up here. How about Audrey Hale? How do you feel about Audrey Hale? Who is Audrey Hale? I'll have to look that up. I don't really know. Who's Audrey Hale? Somebody. A-U-D-R-E. Audrey Hale. Nashville Street. Oh, I know who you're talking about now. She was that person, he was actually needed some mental help, folks. That person was deeply troubled. And it doesn't matter if it was whatever their identity is, it does not freaking matter. What matters is that they killed a bunch of people. And to try to label that as something that kind of speaks toward being transgender, and that's what you expect from us. Do you know how many transgender people have actually killed other people? That person, he might be it. There's others probably, I'm sure, but you know, we have a population size that's large. Granted, got that, no problem. Absolutely got that. It's the same kind of crap that happens in the normal population happens in ours too. Same statistics apply to the whole population. You cannot use one and try to label the whole group. That becomes stereotyping, and that is wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. You can't label a whole bunch of people just because one bad apple does something stupid. And he did something stupid there in Nashville. Stupid, asinine, needed to be taken out. And I'm sorry to his family for sure. But I'm going to tell you that that person needed some help, and a lot of clues were missed. A lot of clues were missed pointing toward that. Now let me go back over to my StreamYard account. Okay. That wasn't the main shooter. Let me see. Audrey Hale was from Nashville. That's the Nashville church shooter. Main shooter, that was military. Okay, let me see what you're going to say here. Red orangutan. Let me see. All right, main shooter, that was a military weapons expert. How was he able to keep his weapons after his mental breakdown? That's a darn good question. That's a failure of the system right there. There were lots of signs, Red, that pointed toward an issue right there. But it's just indefensible that he actually was able to keep access to those weapons after a mental health issue, and after he had that breakdown. Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. There was a problem right there. That the system failed there. There were signs and indicators all along the way that pointed toward, you know, something was going to happen. And then just days before that, the Senate attached a rider to the one of the appropriations bills for the VA primarily that would allow veterans to keep their weapons even if they were mentally incapacitated and under the care of the VA. And the craziest thing about that, Red, is that Angus King, the senator from Maine, actually signed on to that. I'm sure he regrets having done that, because what that does is that allowed veterans who are mentally incapacitated to actually have access to weapons. They should be taken away from them, period. I mean, but the thing is, though, they're also under the supervision. These veterans are also under the supervision and care of the VA. Now, this person here was not. He was actually in the reserves, U.S. Army Reserves. And I've actually got friends up there in Lewiston, in Lewiston, Maine, near where all that happened. And yeah, it's frightening. Absolutely. So yes, I don't know how he was able to keep his weapons after that. They should have been yanked. But there was something in the system that said, no, we don't do that to meet people. We've got to protect those Second Amendment rights to everyone, regardless if they're, mentally incapacitated. But at the same time, everybody says, we got some mentally crazy people out there with all these weapons, but you're unable to go and do anything about it because, NRA's got a lot of money. It's really what it all amounts to. Okay, let me see. I was going to do a little news story here. There's one other thing over here I wanted to talk about too. Let's go over to the next story, go share, and here we go. This one. This story, I had read it earlier this morning, but a friend, the vice president of our organization, pointed this out to me this morning, Amaya Deakins, Dr. Amaya Deakins. I'm glad that she pointed this out to me. I had read it earlier, but had not taken it. It's just one of those things. I know that people go out there and do this, and I know where this is headed. This is another one of those things that you've got some people clamoring to cut back benefits because it's costly. Yeah, it's really costly, but it's also costly in lives for us to have served and then actually put our lives on the line so that other people can actually hate on us because of who we are. You've got to be freaking kidding me. Anyway, you deserve to, you deserve that same right to protection. So there you go. I'm going to go back over to the studio here and stop sharing because I'm sharing the same screen again. Thank you. Hey, Red. You're welcome. So let me just put this out here. I've got one more thing. Let me check my other little places up here in the top where we are. Oh, not there. Let's drop that one down. All right. So I do have a request. I have two intros that I've come up with for this show. I know we've been doing this show now for several months, it feels like. Got many shows under our belt just in the past several months. So here's what we want to do. I've got some intros that I made up this past weekend. I had to learn the whole Adobe After Effects system. I'm not there yet. Oh my God. I just use templates, but I've got a couple I want to run by you. And I'll explain the reason why for each one of them. This first one is the one that, if you were with us at the beginning of the show, this first one is about the fact that I want this to be right in people's face. I'm obviously a transgender veteran. And all right, so I want it to be in people's face. I want them to be challenged by the fact that I am here and challenged by the fact that, one, I'm a veteran and a veteran of the Navy and of the Marine Corps, and that I'm a Naval Academy grad. I want them to be threatened by that so much that they want to come and talk to me about it. I want to hear people talk. But so far, you know what's happening? They don't want to come and confront me because I don't fit their, hold on. I don't fit their narrative. I mean, I'm not the kind that you're going to be able to walk over easily, and you can't dismiss me either. So when Heritage Foundation puts out all this stuff about Project 2025 attacking transgender people, that's the biggest thing. That's the second paragraph. It's mentioned in the second paragraph in the forward. And whenever they start talking about going after transgender people and all that kind of stuff, and I keep reaching out to them to say, let's talk. I have not heard back from them. I think they're afraid of me. I don't fit their narrative. They have this narrative that the transgender people out here in the country are just, idiots. And believe me, some are. Some of us are. That's no doubt. But those are the ones that they want to go onto their programs or talk to because, they think they can prove their point. But they're not going to be able to do that with me. They're afraid of it. As a matter of fact, Ron DeSantis is New College of Florida, the one that he went in and just trying to change it from a liberal arts school to a conservative arts school. He's trying to change it. Well, they had put out requests for Erin in the morning, Erin Reed, to come in and talk. And Erin refused because she didn't want to play into their game. Erin's smart enough to handle it, but she also didn't want to play into that particular game with them. Well, I reached out to the leadership at the New College of Florida, and so far they haven't replied back yet either because, obviously I don't fit their they're the narrative that they want. They want to have somebody they can beat up on. That's going to be fun. Let's see up here. Yeah, let me see. Let me see what Ray has to say. They seem knowledgeable, and normally I don't support LGBT, but you have me listening. Well, Red, thank you. I am glad. Did you serve in the military? So you can put that over there if you'd like it. Are you a veteran? I'd love to be able to see if you're a veteran or not, because veterans are the main focus of what I do, because we have a lot of us who need to make sure that we're in a good place. And I have that platform, and I try to do that. So that's the biggest thing that I try to do. But let me go back to what I was doing just a second ago. So I've got these two intros. They're basically the same except for the wording on the front. The first one has to do with, it says, the Transgender Veteran Show with Cassandra Williamson. Oh, well, yeah, I don't play Call of Duty. Red orangutan. No, I don't play Call of Duty. My daughter does, though. She is on it right now, as a matter of fact. And she actually makes money from that darn thing. I don't know how on earth to do that, but I mean, she is. I'm happy for her. She's my youngest daughter. She's how old? Oh my gosh, she'll be 24 here. I mean, 34 here in just a month. Oh my God. 34. I've got 4 kids, 4 children. They're all adults. And yeah, exactly. 4 children and 8 grandchildren. They're all over the country. We're all military people, by the way, for the most part. I mean, if you flew flags, military service flags outside my home right now, outside this home, we would have the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, and National Guard units covered. The only thing missing, I think, I'm waiting for my grandchildren because I've been persuading them to go in to do it. But we need somebody in the Space Force, and we need somebody in the Coast Guard. Come on, kids. Let's get some of those grandkids out there. And one of my sons-in-law is still in the National Guard, but going to be going over to the Middle East later this year on assignment there. And I'm not looking forward to that. I know that his wife, my daughter, is not looking forward to that either. And their 4 children. But duty calls and we go. That's what we do, folks. That's exactly what we do. And we do it again. It's just who we are. All right, so let me get back to this thing I was going to show you a second ago. This brand. All right, this first one, here's the first one. Let me redo that because I had this banner up there in the way. I need to get that banner out of the way first. Actually, it wasn't a banner. It was a comment. Let me go back over here and hide the comment. Red, I'll put you back up there in a minute if you want to go back up there. But now I want to make sure you get to see the whole thing. Here goes one more time. So tell me about this one if you like it. Let me know over in the comment section over there. Brand and... Okay, the next one, though, it's got my name in the middle, and I'm kind of using the method that the Heritage Foundation is using right now. The Heritage Foundation is 50 years old. They've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time, advocacy from the conservative side of things. Great. But they have a program in there. It's called the Kevin Roberts Show. Kevin Roberts is the president of Heritage Foundation, Dr. Kevin Roberts. He has his degree is in early American history. All right, so he's the president of Heritage, and he has his own show. It's called the Kevin Roberts Show, brought to you by Heritage Foundation and Heritage Action, because they have 2 organizations like we do. And so this next one, though, does what they do. You won't believe how long that stuff took me to make this past weekend. Oh my gosh, does it take some time? It took a long time just to figure out how to even use Adobe After Effects. But, you know, I can do it. That's no problem. We can do that. Anyway, so just let me know what you think. And the reason for the one, like I said before, with my name on it, is to kind of make sure people understand that these are my opinions here. They do not represent any organization or agency or department or whatever. These are my opinions, my thoughts. Okay. So no one is to account for the opinions I express on here except for me. Okay. It's just the way it is. All right. So let's see. The next thing I want to do, though, is kind of take you through a rundown of what Project 2025 is. So let me pull up in the background here the page to Project 2025. In the last part of this, we'll do a little 15-minute thing by someone else who has also been talking about Project 2025. There's several people out there. If you do a YouTube search for Project 2025, you'll find several people have talked about it over the past several months, not just us. So you've got people like, there's an attorney, Leisha Miller. She does a really great job with it. There's another attorney, Karen Friedman Anafilio, attorney out of New York, Long Island, I believe. She does a really good thing. It's with Midas Touch. And the thing I'll do up here in a minute is from Midas Touch as well. So let me go ahead and pull up Project 2025. I'm going to go to the website. It's project2025.org. And let me go to the background here. And hey, no comments, but appreciate it. So let me see. Let me go to share screen again. This time we're going to go look at Project 2025, their site. And I just want to show you a few things about this. Okay, Project 2025. And we're going to go right down through this thing for just a second. Okay, Project 2025 is a presidential transition project. And its whole goal is to, on day one, when a new conservative president takes over the presidency on January the 20th at noon of 2025, if conservative wins in November. So if they win the presidency, then this document, this whole thing will be handed off to them. Now, they've already been made aware of it, and many of them are following the narrative that's being presented here. But this thing is the goal. It's the goal of 2025 presidential project. And they've got all kinds of stuff down through here going on. These are the pillars. These are the pillars that we're talking about. And that number will just have to keep ringing. Let me try to turn it off. Okay. Anyway, so you got the policy agenda, which is a large part of what the document, Project 2025 document is. And you got the personnel database, which they're calling it the conservative LinkedIn. And then if you're interested in applying, you can go do that right there. Training, they'll train people to be ready to take over just as soon as that person says, so help me God. And that's their plan. And they have a 180-day playbook. And this came from, they actually did this with President Reagan, okay? When President Reagan said, so help me God, then the Heritage Foundation, with their version then of this document, handed this thing over to President Reagan, and he was able to get about 60, a little over 60% of their playbook accomplished within 180 days. That was then. This document, this thing, Project 2025, puts that one on steroids, folks. This one is more laid out. It's very, very well organized. The strategic plan in this thing is very clear. It's very detailed. I mean, this is the structure. It's beautiful, beautiful structure. It's content I have a large problem with. But anyway, so on the advisory board, they got a bunch of these organizations down here. I mean, there were 70 different organizations that they convened. Heritage convened this group of organizations to all come together and create this document because they want to be ready. They don't want to waste time like they did in 2017 because back then they didn't have anything put together for Trump when he went into the presidency. So now they're ready, folks. They are ready for this. And all these organizations came together to make it happen. So let's go up here and take a look at this thing. And let's look at the policy part of it for just a second. And we'll show you a few things in here. First thing is, this book is an invitation for you, the reader, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, and Miss Smith. And that's their definition of a family right there. They tell you exactly what they believe that should be. And notice that there's no such thing as Mr. Smith, and Miss Smith. They don't know. They're telling you exactly what they want you to see right there, very clearly. All right. Product of 400 scholars, policy experts, all kinds of people. And I don't know who keeps calling, but I'm going to have to turn them off. And I can't get my clicker to work on the side that says stop these incoming calls. Anyway, that's Project 2025. You can go down through here and actually read the mandate. Don't buy the darn book. You can buy it for $35, okay? You can buy the thing for $35, but I refuse to give Heritage any more money because guess what? They put $22 million into this project, Project 2025. Between all those organizations, they were able to pull in $22 million and probably more now because more organizations are joining on. So this is a serious matter, folks. This is no freaking game. This is a dire threat to everything that we think that I served for in this country, you know, for life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, the blessings of liberty. I think they belong to all of us, right? Every single American has those things. But in this document, they tell you some people that they don't think it belongs to. And they tell you some people they don't think First Amendment rights go to. So, I mean, they're very clear about this. This is authoritarian. This is authoritarian theocratic. Absolutely what it is. If you don't believe it, read it. Just read through there. You'll find out exactly what they think. And let me go back up to the top. I've got the document somewhere else. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, shop heritage. No, I'm not going to do that. Let's go back over to here. Table of contents. Let's go through the whole thing. Okay, the first one is, first thing I need you to look at, and we'll take a look at this. This is the shortest part of it. This forward right here is about, I don't know, it doesn't take up all 50 pages of the first part, but there's a large portion of it that Dr. Roberts wrote, the president of Heritage. And that's where he starts talking about, I mean, in the second paragraph, he goes after transgender people. In the second paragraph, and then it is filled up with things attacking everything. I mean, sexual orientation, marriage equality, all of it. It's down through there. All of it. Everything. I mean, this is a militant statement, to put it bluntly, and terrifying. Then section 1 talks about taking the reins of government, and here they talk about all the different offices within the whole of the executive branch of the government, okay? White House, executive office, central personnel agencies, goes right on down. Section 2, common defense. I mean, this book is laid out, it's organized so that every executive office is covered. And they tell you what they want to do in there. General welfare, you know, Department of Agriculture, Education, Department of Energy, EPA, HHS, HUD, all of them, Department of the Interior, Justice, Department of Labor, Department of Transportation, and Veterans Affairs, folks. Yep, Veterans Affairs too. They have some very specific things they want done in VA. So anyway, let's just jump back up here. And I'm not going to go through all of these things. You got the personnel thing, which is a database of people who are trained. You got the training program itself. You got the playbook over here, which is still pretty much under development. They've got a lot more to do with that. And yeah, okay, so they've got a lot of stuff going on right there. Now, let me show you what's actually included in the forward. We're going to go take a look at that right now, and we'll have a few minutes to watch this little show I want to put on in just a second as well. Got one comment. Okay, you think, oh, I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. If the military is developing anything, stuff like that, you know, they're not going to let anybody know. I do know this, that the technology that they have out there that we all see, that's the tip of the iceberg. But I don't know anything about faster than light communications well, actually the faster than light communication thing, that can be done now. And so the faster than light communications, you know what that is? Here, let me put your post up here. Right. Let me tell you what that actually represents. Have you heard of superconductivity, or where one atom over here or one particle over here may interact, may do something, and another particle could be on the other side of the universe and still be connected. Each one could tell what the other is doing. And there's a lot we're still learning about all that. But that's physics. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, that's just physics. What is it called? There's a word for it. That's superconductivity. That's what I called it back in the 1980s when I was in school. I was looking at it then. But Yeah, so that's actually, yeah, but you know, they're still learning a lot about it because they don't know how to regulate it just yet or how to actually make that happen. They know that it is possible because information is transferred from one that's here, one that's right here on this side of the universe to another one that's here. It can be even on the planet. I mean, and they've already tested this. They know that it is true. They know that this is the case, that what this one particle is doing over here and another one can instantly detail exactly what is happening over there. I mean, but regulating that and controlling it in an intelligent, useful way, I don't know. But the science is already there for that. So I just want, you know, weird stuff. I know. So let me see. Let me take that one down for just a second. Oh, yeah, let me hide that one. And where was I going? Oh, let me go and show you Project 2025. I want to just go jump right in the middle of this darn thing. Just for a second. I'm just going to look in the front and the forward to it and tell you something and show you something here. Window, Project 2025, right there. Okay, so let me go up to the forward, which is where I am right now. Okay, here we go. Let me go right here. Here we go. This is on page 4, okay? This is the numbered page 4, and this is the forward that's written by Kevin Roberts. In the second paragraph, inflation's ravaging family budgets, right here. Let me just kind of highlight that for you. Inflation is ravaging family budgets. Yes. Drug overdose deaths continue to escalate. Yes. And then they jump off into an abyss with the next statement. Children suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens and pornography invading our school libraries. Well, let me just tell you that this has always been a whistle, okay? It's one of those things that's been going on since I don't know when. But I know that back in the 40s, you know what the whistle was then? We don't want our children to be around all those sex-starved black people and super strong black people. We can't have that happening back then because, you know, we just can't have that. And then in the 50s, it was the lavender scare where they were going after, they actually dismissed 20,000 federal employees who they had decided were gay. And they back then they equated being gay with pornography and all this kind of crap. Look, there's no greater incidence of pornography in these groups than any other population in the country. It doesn't matter. Of course it's in there. But the same proportionality occurs, okay? Those numbers don't lie, all right? But what they're doing is they're trying to conflate that with being transgender. And then also they use the word transgenderism, which means it's an ideology, which means that it's not true. Because I can tell you flat out that I'm not an ideology, folks. I am me. I am a transgender veteran. Yeah, I know that I was born genetically with XY genes. On the macro scale, of course. Of course I know that. I don't deny that. But I can tell you that sex and gender are not the same thing, and my gender is female. But no matter what, I do know that my genetic sex is XY, which is male. Now, what they're trying to do here is trying to, you know, conflate these things together so that it gets people all riled up. Believe me, they've been really successful at it. And the reason they're still using it, you know why? It's because it works. And all they have to do is try to tie something to the kids. And no matter how ridiculous it is, they try to tie it to the kids, and it's just plain stupid. All right. And I just left that part out right here. This one here that says contemporary elites have even repurposed the worst ingredients of the 1970s radical chic to build the totalitarian cult today, known as the Great Awakening. It's only known as the Great Awakening because one, Kevin put it in there. It's the first time it's ever occurred that I know of. And the radical chic of the 1970s? No, I remember the 70s. I lived during the 70s. I went to high school in the 70s. Okay. I don't recall it being too radically chic. It's no more different than any other period of time. It's just that when you look back on it, you know, and whoever's doing the writing of history, they get the chance to actually make it what they want it to sound like. That's the way history works, right? Okay, so let's go on down here to the next section that I highlighted. This is promise number 1. The very first promise: restore the family as a centerpiece of American life and protect our children. See, doing it again. They've done this forever. They did it in the 40s, like I said, with didn't want their children around black men primarily. And they did it for a reason, because they thought they could stir up the passions of everybody. And they did. They did it successfully. getting people all mad about this and rioting about it. And absolutely, that's why we ended up with the 1964 or the 1963 Civil Rights Act. So anyway, and here they go again. Look at this. Second paragraph. In many ways, the entire point of centralizing power is to subvert the family. And that's no, no. Yeah, they're going out here going, here, buy this little piece right here, right now, because if you take this piece, then I can feed you the rest of this. Because if I can get you on this one, you can believe that. That's called propaganda. That's psyops. Psychological warfare. They're using it on everybody. Here we go. And let me be very clear about this. It happens on the left and on the right. No particular side is pure in this because it's been used everywhere. All sides, left, right, middle, top, bottom, it's whatever. It's all, every side uses that kind of tactic. Its purpose is to replace people's natural loves and loyalties with unnatural ones. See, they're telling you right now that they want nothing to do with LGBT people, particularly the sanctioning of marriage. And this is the other one. These are the mediating institutions that serve as the building blocks of any healthy society, by their definition. All right, marriage, family, work, church, school, volunteering. Yeah, but they have very specific meanings for those words. Not any one of them that actually represents what's taking place in society today. But this is more about theocracy than it is anything. The name real people give to things that we do together as community and not government. Real people. For one thing, communities, when they start interacting, the people start interacting within those communities, guess what happens? You form some alliances and you start building this way to connect with each other, and you've got government. And then the thing about the real people part, well, they're telling you right there that anyone else who doesn't agree with this, they're not real people. Let's go on down. All right, the next conservative president. Here's the part that really just gets to me more than any part in this whole darn thing. And there's others that are just as equally bad, but this one stands out starkly. All right, this one says, the next conservative president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. This starts with, this starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, inclusion, gender. Let me pull this up the screen a little bit. Whoops, I've got my cursor on roll. Gender, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitivity, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights. And then they throw in the one that just grabs all right? And any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights. Now, I think I'm going to stop right there. And I'm stopping right there because I want you to see something. First is above, they had real people listed. And if you don't agree with them, you're not real people. The next thing they did down here is they're saying that for all of these categories above this, the First Amendment doesn't apply to you. Even though you're Americans, if you agree with all these other topics and these terms up here, then First Amendment doesn't apply to you. But let's read further. And they're going to do this. Deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights as if we're not Americans. Out of every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, regulation, piece of legislation that exists, full stop. I'm serious. Got $22 million back in this crap up, folks. And here's the other, remember a minute ago, I told you that they're putting these two things together for a reason because, they know it works. It's not true, but it still works because it worked in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. It's worked every time they've done this. And especially whenever they start throwing in kids in it, in the same line of thinking. Pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology. I'm not a freaking ideology. And sexualization of children. See, pornography, children, and the object that they want to get rid of, transgender people. They put them together because, they just have to stand against that. And if you could have said it another way, and this is how it would have sounded in the 50s or in the 40s. Pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of racial animus or black people growing in the South or whatever, wherever they might live at the time, and the sexualization of children. All they have to do is take out, propagation of transgender ideology and put their favorite daily thing in there. It was the gays in the 50s, blacks in the 40s, more gays in the 60s, and all those radicals on campus. And Dr. King marching and all that. You could put all that right in that same little group right down through there, and you would have the same thought brought forward to today. Exactly. Same stuff. And then they go on down here to say, for instance, is not a political Gordian knot inextricably binding up desperate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberty, sexual liberation, and child welfare. See, they got the children in that one again. Then they say it has no claim to First Amendment protection. Yep, see, lumped it all together. Now they're telling you that some of your fellow Americans aren't protected by the First Amendment. If you believe that, you've got 2 or 3 big lumps inside that brain of yours, and they're not working well. And then it goes on to say in the yellow section down here, its purveyors are child predators. Throw them in there. Misogynistic exploiters of women. Those are the 2 categories. Now look, right here they put in the women. They did that in the 40s. They put children and women. They didn't want them to be around those big sex-starved black people. They did it in the 50s with gay people. They didn't want their women and children to be around gays and the Lavender Scare. And, they actually kicked out of like I said before, 20,000 people out of the federal workforce because they were gay. As if they could do anything about it. I mean, Alan Turing, they tried to electrocute to get him to it was conversion therapy on steroids back then, not just steroids, but on electricity. They tried that with Alan Turing. He ended up killing himself, but they never did get rid of the fact that he was gay. Never did. And he's the inventor of modern computer science and broke the code that actually allowed us to win the war in World War II. But yet he was gay, so they had to kind of burn it out of him. My gosh, come on, people. And then the people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators, public librarians, purveyors should be classed as registered sex offenders. And telecommunications companies and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. Okay, now, that's enough of that one. That's just the introduction, folks. It's horrendously bad all the way down through there. Now, let me go on to the next thing over here. And we're going to jump into watching this clip from Midas Touch. That's a YouTube thing. Let me go present and screen, and we'll close out with this one. Midas Touch, runaway. Right there it is. Got it. All right. This is we'll just go ahead and get into it. Here we go. I'm going to increase the size and then press play.
Quote, Donald Trump and his allies are drafting plans to potentially invoke the Insurrection Act on his first day in office to allow him to deploy the military against civil demonstrations. Quote, dubbed Project 2025, the group is developing a plan to include draft executive orders that would deploy the U.S. military domestically under the Insurrection Act. The proposal is identified in internal discussions as an immediate priority.
Yeah, on day one, deploy the military to quell civil disturbances. What kind of civil disturbances, you ask? Well, if you remember back in January of 2017, there was the Women's March, where 500,000 women mostly came to Washington, D.C. wearing pink kitty cat hats. Yeah, that's what you're hearing in that report. Big new reporting out of the Washington Post and also the New York Times, all talking about Project 2025. We're going to talk about in this video a little bit, get you caught up on what's going on, and then see what the truth is. I'm Fred Wellman, host of On Democracy with FP Wellman, right here in the Midas Touch Network, to discuss this. And it's a very complicated thing. You may have been hearing rumors about it, but actually I'm worried you haven't. Because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, right? Israel, Ukraine, Speaker of the House, government shuts down in 2 weeks. And now we've got these polls from the New York Times saying, oh, Biden's losing. It's the end of the world. Everyone's caught up in the horse race. And I'm much more worried about the loss of our democracy than anything else. So let me catch you up on what's going on, the latest reporting. So there's been a flood of new reporting from several news outlets. You can see it here, Washington Post, the New York Times, Politico had a really good op-ed at it, and a number of the broadcast stations. We'll look at some of the clips. What this is talking about is Project 2025, which is part of an ongoing effort that the Heritage Foundation has been doing since the Reagan era, where each time there's a new administration, they come out their big Republican dream. But this year's really different. These guys have gotten $22 million and brought together 75 of the most extreme right-wing groups in the country. Not the traditional guys, not the Federalist Society. No, we're talking about all these MAGA groups you've heard of, all under the under the Heritage Foundation, to create what is now a 1,091-page manual with 30 sections that's going to basically be implemented on day one. And there's a lot to it. So, you know what? Ali Veshy did a great summary of this back in September. So let's watch this. If you haven't heard of Project 2025, this is a great clip to kind of catch you up on what's going on.
It's called Project 2025, the Conservative Promise. Now, unsurprisingly, it targets LGBTQ rights, equating any talk of gender or sexuality with pornography and pedophilia. Abortion rights, emphasizing the, quote, rights of the unborn. It looks to ban critical race theory and gender ideology and so-called environmental extremism from schools nationwide. And it recommends barring discussions of terms including gender equality, reproductive health, and reproductive rights. Banning discussion of reproductive rights. Now, that is some Handmaid's Tale stuff right there. It makes recommendations to implement so-called Christian, biblically based ideologies, reform voting rights, immigration, and more in a country whose First Amendment to its Constitution says, quote, Congress shall make no law representing an establishment of religion, end quote. But these are just the expected conservative talking points. Project 2025 goes further. It looks to dismantle what it calls the deep state, the administrative state, to defund the Department of Justice and ensure White House control of the DOJ. It wants to take down the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security. It wants to eliminate the Department of Education, Commerce, Health and Human Services. It aims to put federal agencies like the Federal Communications Commission and the Federal Trade Commission under direct presidential control. Project 2025 also relies heavily on the Reagan-era unitary executive theory, which is a fringe idea that Article 2 of the Constitution, which covers executive powers, gives the president complete control over the executive branch and rejects the idea that the three branches of government should have overlapping checks and balances on power. You may remember when Trump tried to use this line of reasoning in a speech in 2019, saying, quote, I have the Article 2, where I have the right to do whatever I want as president. Trump, for his part, is an easy and willing executor of the mandate for leadership agenda. Many of the suggestions of the mandate are personally beneficial to Donald Trump, like dismantling the so-called administrative state, the FBI, the judiciary, that he so fervently claims have been after him since before he was even elected. Michael Hirsch, a senior correspondent at Foreign Policy, did a very deep dive on Project 2025 for Politico magazine. In his article titled Inside the Next Republican Revolution, he writes that much of Project 2025 will be difficult, if not impossible, to execute. Even the head of Heritage admits that to implement much of their vision, the conservative movement would need to not only have the presidency, but control of both chambers of Congress. Hirsch reports that Project 2025 aims to recruit, quote, conservative warriors to staff the next conservative president's administration starting on day one. They're already putting this plan into action. They're vetting people, making sure that their recruits are ideologically aligned. They're training them. Project 2025 is developing 30 video courses teaching each of the 30 chapters of the mandate. The architects of the project have talked openly about the long-term plans of their movement, making it clear that they are thinking 3-4 presidential elections down the line. It is in part a training program, one of which the head of the Heritage Foundation promised will develop experts at killing bureaucracy. And while Trump is at the forefront of this conservative movement, probably in large part because it complements his personal agenda, it absolutely does not depend on Donald Trump. Already, Trump's top competitors, Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy, have made attacking the so-called deep state central to their campaigns. Michael Hirsch also reported that Project 2025 has been in touch with Trump's team, DeSantis's team, and with the moderate Democrat Joe Manchin about their goals.
You heard all that, okay? Banning any discussion of LGBTQ. All the big Republican craziness being put into law. Now, is it possible to do all this without complete control of the Senate and the House? Probably not. But by the way, they're not just talking to Donald Trump. They're talking to DeSantis. They're talking to Vivek Ramaswamy. They're talking to Joe Manchin. Remember Joe Manchin, the guy that No Labels has been floating? You see where this is going? This is very, very dark stuff. I keep going back as a veteran and a former soldier about the idea of deploying our active duty military to suppress civil discussion, frankly, to any kind of a demonstration. You know, my son-in-law was at the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally defending the Lee statue as a member of the Virginia National Guard. I take this very seriously. Imagine the idea of our service members being deployed to stop peaceful protest. That's what we're talking about. That is some dark, dark fascist stuff. So a little bit about what he's talking about. The big pieces of this puzzle: direct control of federal agencies. What does that mean? Federal Trade Commission?
As you know, that's all the stuff I've been talking about too. So with that, I want to go ahead and call it a day. Y'all have a great one. Come back tomorrow at noon Eastern time, as well as at 6 tomorrow evening. Just as a heads up, I will be leaving out Sunday for this coming Sunday for Washington, D.C. Invited up there to be at the Center for Minority Veterans for their Transgender Day of Remembrance event. So I'll be up there for that. I'm down in Alabama right now. That's where I live. So I'm down in LA, like in lower Alabama. But I'll be in DC and through midday on Wednesday. So anyway, I'll be out of town. But next week also, for those of you who are watching, we do have our next week is this week. Yeah, this week we do have our membership meeting, general membership meeting, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, as well as our executive leadership meeting on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. So with that, have a great evening, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.